Good morning, everybody. I still want to do that thing where I start the show one day and I take a sip of this and then I go, don't you think that would be a good way to start? No, I won't like spray on the cameras, but yeah. I don't think I could reach the camera from here, frankly. I'd have to work very hard. All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going. JP already up and at 'em this morning. Good morning, all. Hope you have a power week. But I said to James this morning and Flex, and they both kind of just ignored me. I was like, some mornings you wake up, some Mondays you get in and you're like, Monday. But this morning I felt pretty good about today. And then they went, well, so I realized it's not contagious. You know, some days it's just, it's not your day. And I'm not going to be one of those irritating people that tells you, yay, Monday, let's go. Because that's even worse, right? If you are feeling a bit shitty. If you're wondering where Leigh-Ann Mol is, so are we. But apparently she's going to walk in a moment. We've decided what we're going to do is as she walks in, we're going to go, walk of shame, walk of shame. But she doesn't know anything about this. All right, so let's get going, everybody. Let's start our day. We got a bunch of news to get to, some things that happened over the weekend. Load shedding. Can we just talk about load shedding? I really didn't want to. This is not something that I'm so excited we could talk about this shit again. Flex told me I had 4 hours of it yesterday. It's easier in summer. Okay, obviously, it's easier in summer. But I just think we all wake up and it's harder if you have to get up while it's still dark. You have to brush your teeth and all of that shit. And you don't have power. You got to choose clothes. You don't even know what clothes you're choosing half the time. You're just like, just get that shit out there. You forget something at home because it was right at the front door as you were walking out, but you forgot it because it's dark and you didn't see it. There are all kinds of things that happen that are just super annoying. And I find it suspicious. Now, call me skeptical, but I find it suspicious that this ESCOM thing has just suddenly become a thing again. And why now? Like, why right about the time that the government is trying to hike VAT by 2%? You know that last week, Thursday, the finance minister was meant to speak to us, right? Enoch Godongwana, the one who wears the hats. Well, actually, Becky Tlele also wore the hats. So the other one who wears the hats. But these guys were going to just tell us, oh, by the way, we're pushing up VAT by an extra 2%, which means everything would have cost you more. Everything. Food, booze, smokes, whatever the hell you're going to go and buy. Everything costs you 2% more. So it's a tax on the poor because everyone pays an extra 2%. So if you're rich and you're buying more things, you're paying more. You're poor and you're buying less things, you're still paying more. It's just unbelievable that the government would be so callous that they'd think that this was going to be okay. And yet they were going to until some conversation happened and they told the Minister of Finance that, sorry, you can't present this thing. It's not going to work. It's even these dummies inside the GNU, and I can say that now because I've been like optimistic and I've given them the benefit of the doubt. But once they start screwing up, I'm allowed to call them out, right? They've screwed up on a couple of things. They screwed up on that Bella education bill. They've screwed up on the NHI, which is going to be an unmitigated disaster. They've screwed up on this expropriation without compensation bill. And now they're screwing up with the taxes. And I'll tell you what, it's all like a little tantrum. That's why they've switched off the electricity again. It's a tantrum. They can't get more money out of you. So they're like, and then I'm just not going to give you any electricity. And really, that's as childish as it gets. I don't trust these guys. As far as I could throw them, none of them. And I'm talking about all the parties inside of this government of national unity, right? Anybody who's still laboring under the misconception that the DA or the IFP or any of these small Songezo Zibi is going to save them, like, you got to realize they're not. Nobody's coming to save you. The politicians don't give a shit about you. We need to start looking at things outside of politics in order to make this place work. Really, that's what you got to do. Private sector, and I don't mean the ones that are captured. I don't mean the big corporations who kowtow to government because government's their biggest customer. I'm talking about organizations you can get involved with Who did we have here the other day? Pete LaRue and Russell Loebscher, right? Russell Lamberti, sorry. And the two of them were talking about what they do at Sakeliga to fight for ordinary people like you and me and our rights. And I reckon that supporting people like that with the 2% that the government would have taken from you and probably will still try to do, you should support those organizations. They will be there to defend you. They've done it. They've got a track record of proving it, right? All these other parties do nothing. So HS says the government got rid of load shedding by buying huge amounts of diesel. It seems the budget is finished for diesel. Someone got stupid rich, and the true problems never got fixed again. Yeah, that's also true. But I think I'm more cynical than even you. I reckon it's so bad, the lies and the nonsense we've been sold, that actually this is related to them trying to wheedle more cash out of us. Really, I think it's that simple. And they've tried this shit before, right? They've always tried to get more cash out of us and will continue. So apparently the brilliant Panyaza Lesufi, and Leigh-Ann will tell us more about this just now. I say the brilliant Panyaza Lesufi with huge emphasis on irony and sarcasm there, in case you didn't pick it up. Because I know the kids don't learn irony and sarcasm at school anymore. It doesn't get taught. So when you joke with Gen Z and you say, yeah, they think you actually mean yeah. They go, oh, okay. You're like, no, I was being sarcastic. And they go, what's sarcastic? Because you didn't put an emoji after it. Apparently that's the only way they understand any, forms of speech, uses of metaphors, similes, comparisons. They don't understand any of that stuff. Don't get onto like metonymy or assonance or any of that stuff. That really fucks their brains up. But that used to be a thing, which is why everything you read these days sounds like it's a tweet. Nah, NGL, not my problem. Like, wow, did you go to the Shakespearean School of Acronyms? That's really amazing. Try that again. NGL, huh? Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. That's what they talk like this. So you're like sarcasm and irony. That's a step too far for some people. Anyway, Panyaza Lesufi apparently wants to introduce Swahili and Mandarin in Gauteng schools. Because you know what I've always encountered on my travels is that the inability to speak Swahili is what's held me back. In every part of the world I've gone to, I always think, if only I could say more than Hakuna Matata, I would be so successful. It's all those Tanzanians on the international diaspora who really control the world economy. If you could just crack the Swahili, you'll just make so much money out of those Tanzanians. Yo, guys, we're messing around. I did see a video this morning which is kind of disturbing, and you can go and see it. We can't play it because I just saw it like literally 5 minutes ago. Anele Mdoda was she was in an Uber on her way back to her hotel. I think it's in Cape Town somewhere. And this guy, the Uber driver, she posted a video and she tells the story. It's like 2 or 3 tweets. But she basically says this guy said to her, because she chose the silent option, that, Leigh-Ann's come in. Let's just do this quickly. All right, here she comes. 1, 2, 3. Walk of shame. Walk of shame. Walk of shame. Hello, Ass. Did you get stuck in like 5 a.m. traffic?
No, look, there are many excuses.
Okay, well, we just like to put on the
walk
what's
of
going
shame.
on there in the background.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Josienzo Ramajopa, huh? He's the Minister of
Dancing
Electricity.
next to me, I mean, honestly.
How are you, Ass?
Good.
All right?
Well, I mean, the lift wasn't working, so I'll need a moment.
Okay, so you ran up the stairs.
Yes. Gave me hips and all.
We switched it off.
Oh, yeah, on purpose.
That's part of how cruel we are. All right, so just quickly, I was telling them about, I saw Anela's tweet earlier, because it'll become a thing today.
Yeah.
But basically, she chose the silent option in an Uber Black, which you can do. Like,
yes.
In other words, I don't want to talk to you.
Yes.
And she says the driver was pissed off about that and said, where I come from, we would rape you.
Oh.
Nice, huh? So she got to the hotel, but she was like filming him a lot of the way because she was nervous and scared, as she would be. I mean, he's a girl on her own in the car.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then she got there and said to him, say it again. And he wouldn't say it. And he's like, what's your problem, lady? And she's like, tell them what you said to me earlier. Now, I don't believe Anela would make this up for attention.
No, never.
So I think it's pretty goddamn appalling, because I don't think about these things being a guy when you get into an Uber, right? You don't think about it. You're like, okay, hey, how you doing? Cool. I'm going to shut up and sit here on my phone. This guy was like, pretty much, he's one of those creepy guys who would have, who knows what he would have done. And she films on the way there. She's filming him, but she's saying, hey guys, to her followers now.
Yeah.
Just letting you know that I'm about to arrive at my hotel,
Yeah.
so that I can do my show in the morning, so that he's listening.
Yes.
And, I mean, the fact that here's someone who's in a prominent position. Can you imagine how many people are not able to do anything when that happens?
Yeah.
Or are too scared. You're frozen in fear.
Yes.
Again, a lot of women would be terrified. They wouldn't know what to do in that situation, and who could blame them? Anyway, I saw it this morning, and it just really pissed me off first thing on a Monday.
There's so many things to. I've never just taken an Uber ride without thinking, and when I say Uber, I mean
any of the lifts.
Without thinking either once or twice, I need to be careful.
Really?
Yeah, every time.
Way to
I
live.
remember the person's name. I'm sure to greet them properly. Out of fear.
It's almost like a test.
Just out of fear.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think I know that they've tried to put in panic buttons and all kinds of other things on the app.
This is people. This is not Uber drivers
Yeah,
or any driver.
no, this is people.
This is
so
people.
What makes a guy, what kind of fucking monster says to a single female passenger in the car where he's only there to give her a lift because he's getting paid to? What makes him say something like, in my country, we would have raped you for choosing an option? Like what kind of a human being?
Did this happen in South Africa?
Cape Town.
Okay. So he's talking about in his culture, where he comes from, that's the standard.
It's not a culture. That's not a culture. That's just uncivilized behavior. That's what that is.
Obviously how he's
been programmed.
Been brought up to think.
Yeah. But I mean, it's appalling, right? So you're right. The problem is people. And the problem is that for a long time in this world, we've said that all cultures are equal. That some cultures are, we don't really like the whole polygamy thing, or we don't like the whole thing that you treat women in a certain way, make them dress a certain way. But, all cultures, they kind of all deserve their place in the sun. Well, no, I think it's becoming evident to everyone on planet Earth that slowly but surely, it's obvious now that some cultures are just better than others. I will never be told by anyone that what they do in Afghanistan is equivalent to what was happening in other parts of the world in even the 1400s. I won't be told that. I have eyes, I have ears, and I have the ability to pay attention to what's going on around me. And if there are places in the world where men still believe it's okay to talk to women like that, or to do things that are just unacceptable in slightly more sophisticated places, we should call it out.
So she's obviously reporting him, right?
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, if she's put it out there, she's got to follow it. Anyway, he's a psycho. What kind of culture promotes that cuck man, says Lee. Drive your own car if you're a woman. This is South Africa. Are you mad, says Common Sense. This is why Vanuatu is the best option for females. And by the way, they're back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't keep a good service down.
No, exactly.
I know there are a lot of people who are very pissed off because they're like, why would you have it? So unfair. Why would you have it off a car ride? Why would you do that? What about us? I'm fucking Portuguese. What about me? Or whatever. Well,
and you don't have to speak Afrikaans to ride.
No, you
car,
don't. Exactly. But the drivers are all Afrikaans, and they will speak to you in Afrikaans. So, you know what? I don't mind. And as trust breaks down because of a government that's not trustworthy, to go back to the tax thing, because that makes you untrustworthy. I hate to break it to you, Low trust society, guys. When the power goes off, we don't go, there must be a problem at the power station. We go, those fuckers. Right?
Yeah. And also,
Low trust
you
society.
trust in the load shedding schedule. Okay, fine. Give us load shedding. We'll follow the schedule. And then it doesn't come on for 45 minutes afterwards. No trust.
So this is the problem. And I think the same goes for drivers in cars that clearly are predators. I think the same goes for cultures where people just haven't upgraded their software to 21st century standards. That's what it is. So upgrade your fucking software if you want to be a part of the modern world. You can't be thinking like that. In my country, we will rip you if you say this. That's not how you behave. You want to live in civilized society? Behave yourself. If you don't like it, you've got to change your culture or whatever. Like, you can't do this. Not in this country and not with people that like people I know, for starters. And then second of all, people the whole country knows. Moron. And you're going to find yourself suddenly without any means of income, and you deserve it.
He picked the wrong person in this, that's for sure.
It's going to go badly for him. Anyway, bring back the shame bell, Gareth. We can rattle the crap out of it, says Megs. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should actually bring back that shame bell. My female colleague Mapelo says, told me the same. That's always been the thing, to be so careful when requesting an Uber. How do you know all that, Gareth, you Neanderthal? Says Mapelo too. It's the same thing in the UK with Middle Eastern taxi drivers, says Rochelle. Once one locked me in, leaned over and touched my face and said I was gorgeous. I was at 1 a.m. See, I'm sorry. Not all cultures are the same. You behave like that towards a woman in your own shitty dust bowl of a country, but you don't do that in places of the world where people are sophisticated. Khomotso says, Uber needs to be scrapped. It's become so unsafe. Drivers watching TikTok while they're driving, and you're scared to complain because you don't know how they will react. Look, I got to say, fair enough, Khomotso, you may have a point. I've had very good experiences. It's probably easier because you're a guy. If you're a girl, I understand what Leigh-Ann's saying. I get that's why we're talking about it, right? But I agree with her too, you being her, that you say it's not Uber, it's human nature. This is the problem. You people all mock the poorers and tell how you can hide 20 rand from us under the soap, but then you eat our chicken and pastas de nata. Portuguese culture is the best culture, says Carl dos Santos. Yeah, all right.
Not being biased at all.
There's a movement in Manchester called the Public Purity Committee that is trying to ban people from walking their dogs in public because dogs are considered dirty under Sharia law. Well, if you accept Sharia law in, where is it, Manchester, then that's your own fault. Someone, Bitcoin Bot, posted over the weekend, because I follow him on Instagram or Twitter or something. He posted that he was at a restaurant in Centurion, and he wanted to order a beer, and they said, no, we're a halal restaurant. So he's like, yes, but this is not a Sharia law country. You don't have to drink beer, but I'm your customer. So again, Bitcoin, but don't go there again.
No.
Just don't support,
go there in the first place.
Don't support a place that won't give you what you want to drink. Not because they're out of stock, but because they don't allow people to drink there, because it's a little piece of, I don't know, fucking Afghanistan chiseled out of Centurion. Just don't go there. Don't support people like that. You don't have to. No one has the right to impose their shit on you. But if you live in a multicultural society, you get to make choices. And some of those choices are commercial, some of them are moral, ethical, whatever it might be. But you don't get to dictate, especially if you're in the tiniest of minorities, how everyone else should behave. And if you come from a foreign country, you fit in with South Africa. It's called assimilation. You fit in with us because we are South Africans. You're from God knows where. You must fit in with us. I don't care how many, actually, doesn't depend if it's minority or majority. I don't care how many there are. We have certain rules here. This is not a country where we have religious laws banning X, Y, and Z. There used to be a time where you couldn't go and buy liquor on a Sunday. Do you remember?
Well, there still is.
Some places.
3 o'clock.
Some places.
Stops at 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Not all places.
Everywhere.
Really?
Of course.
Still a thing, huh?
100%.
Well, you see, I'm not puzzing on a Sunday.
At 3 o'clock. Yeah, exactly. No, it's done by 3 because you're not allowed to be drunk on Monday morning.
Really? So they actually
So
have
if
to,
you're buying,
like children, they stop us, huh?
Yeah. So if you're buying for an event that you have on a Wednesday, can't buy after 3 on Sunday.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that,
Leigh-Ann.
You have my condolences.
Is that a Christian law? I'm not sure.
I think it is. It's a church law. It's what they call vice law, right? Because it's a vice, drinking on a Sunday. Tucker Carlson interviewed Ernst Ruett. Good interview. It's going to cause a light stir. Oh, it'll cause a fucking flat-out panic on X, which is great. Let those people's blood vessels explode in their heads. I had a Bolt driver asking me whether I get horny, says Leigh. Sure. I told him to pull over. I got out and reported him. I hope you had a good weekend. Viasen said I had a great weekend, except for the load shedding.
Yeah, and then, because we love talking about the weather, but that is one of the main reasons I was a little late this morning. My front door has said, I've had enough of this rain. It just wouldn't open. I was trapped inside.
So you couldn't get it?
I couldn't push it open. No, I needed leverage.
Embarrassing.
So I had to find another door, keys, oh gosh, and then kick it open like a child having a temper tantrum.
Shame, yeah. It's called swelling.
Yes.
Like some people on planes.
Yeah,
except that it's your door, and then you have to try and kick it open like you did. But well done for getting out of your house. Like a prison. It should be a requirement to eat bacon and beer for citizenship, says Bitcoin Boot. Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, don't tell who are these people who keep trying to tell us what to do the whole time? You don't get to do that. You don't go to another country and then tell our women in my country you'd be raped for that and actually think you're going to get away with it. What level of hubris do you have? What level of hubris do you have telling a customer, I'm not going to give you what you want to drink because my religious law bans it? I don't care about your religious law. Wah to your religious law. Nobody gives a shit. I'm here at a restaurant. You are here to make food for me, and I pay you money for it.
Yeah, but you've got choices to go to those places.
Well, he won't go there again, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I lived, as you know, in Kalk Bay, and the next town, Fishhook, is a no-drinking town. You can't buy alcohol even from Woolworths. So,
really?
Yeah.
Shit.
So, and then the very next town is just full of bars. But you just choose not to shop there or choose not to eat there.
Viasen says, I went to a school event and there was a beer garden. The 7 years of my eldest son's primary school time was totally beerless because a fair majority were Muslim. I found it very unfair. Yeah, it is.
Beer garden without beer.
Yeah, what's the point? If your planning is so bad that you haven't bought your booze by 3 p.m. on a Sunday, do you even deserve to be an alcoholic? Yeah, I think that's also a good point. Even the same Spur branches, some of them, have become halal. What's breakfast without bacon? Swine is fine. We should start that again as a swine is fine. Imagine that's your chant. No, I can't imagine a breakfast without bacon, for starters. If you're going to have a breakfast at a restaurant and they don't have bacon there, I'm horrified. Horrified. Again, people pushing their shit on you. It's just not acceptable. All right, let's get to some other stuff. I know you've got this important story for us about Panyaza Lesufi. Now, Panyaza Lesufi, he's really out of ideas. Like there's not much he can do to disguise the contempt that he has for the people of Gauteng, right? We have a crumbling infrastructure in Johannesburg. Just the other day, we were talking about the bridges and how all of them are falling to pieces. We have water problems. We have electricity problems. Basically, Gauteng is run like, you see, the temptation is to say like a spaza shop, but I know that the people who run spaza shops actually do a pretty good job. Like it's hard to run a spaza shop, and they do. With narrow margins, they know exactly how much stock to order. It's a hard business to be in, and the people who run those shops are not idiots. But Panyaza Lesufi's spaza shop would go under in about a week. Okay, so he's our premier of Gauteng, and that is, again, just to refresh your memory, the most important province in the country because we are responsible for
most income,
the economy. Yeah. So what is this guy doing? He has so badly run against walls with all of his cuck ideas up to now. And he has supported the cuckest ideas. Check his record. Stuff that is generally unpopular. They say in the latest poll, by the way, I saw a poll by the Social Research Foundation, that the ANC's support is dropping to 32% by their measurement.
Yes.
So it's not going up.
No,
Even
no.
though they've tried all these last-ditch attempts to secure people's support. They're talking about Bella. They're talking about NHI. They're talking about taxes. It's not helping. The ANC's support is plummeting. That's according to them anyway. So, if you've got a different opinion, good for you. But the Social Research Foundation, actually, they spend a bit of money doing this, and they go and ask a couple of thousand people. So I'd rather take their opinion. Thanks. They say that part of this is because Panyaza Lesufi just keeps sticking his foot right in the dog turd.
Mm.
And now, in order to try as a last-ditch attempt, like he's totally out of ideas, but he goes, I've got an idea. Let us introduce Swahili and Mandarin in Gauteng schools. That will be the thing that pushes us over the edge and makes us the engine room of South Africa once again.
Mm.
This is his big plan, okay? Swahili and Mandarin. Now, there's an argument to be made for Mandarin.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of Chinese people in the world. They are a superpower. They do a lot of business with South Africa. I know the president's one son is fluent in Mandarin. There are a lot of people who go and study in China.
They're a BRICS country.
Sure,
that too.
Sure, but that we know BRICS is completely.
We know
what the
yes.
fuck's the point of BRICS? I mean, unless you're building a house.
And then equally, we should have Russian in schools.
Yeah, then we should be learning Russian.
Yeah,
and a little bit of Portuguese. Carl, you'd be thrilled because Brazil's in there, right?
Yeah.
So if it makes Carl happy with Brazil, we're good. But this is a serious proposition.
Yeah, serious proposition.
Yeah, let's hear.
So
let's hear what this rocket scientist has to say.
Those were the two big things, but he also said we need to protect our current languages as well.
What, all fucking 11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep adding to the list instead of fixing problems that are right up there. He noted that the Gauteng province budgets approximately 35 million rand to support language-based programs, which was a good thing. But South Africans just, of course, focused on the Mandarin and Swahili. So some of the statements were Mandarin, the language of our new masters. Sibusiso Sibisi says, yes, to create job opportunities for their Chinese friends who have collapsed South Africa's clothing and textile industry.
Right.
Big
that's
argument
that's not untrue.
Yeah. Billy O'Jane says, why not Shona and Portuguese, funnily enough? Angola, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe are just here. And Aluei Tati Lenzani says, did they learn Chivenda in China?
Carl DeSantis says Iran is also in BRICS now, so we must add goat to the list of languages or whatever they speak. Congo Chris says we have 12 languages, Gareth. Sign language is an official language, you ableist bigot.
It's true.
Okay.
So yeah, like the sentiment is we have 11, 12 official languages. Let's promote them fully. Why are you not adding even more? There's so many other problems to fix.
Also, guys, let's get over this. I understand, and I hear this from Afrikaans friends of mine, Zulu-speaking friends of mine. None of these languages are going to die out, right? Because people still speak them at home. But when it comes to educating your children, just keep it to like English, Spanish, Mandarin, French, whatever. Like, go with one of the big ones, because then wherever you go in the world, there'll be some use for it. There'll be some use somewhere. Just be utilitarian about it. Don't be sentimental and what's the other word? Nostalgic. Just because you grew up with something. Like, I understand this, right? I totally get that people have an attachment to language and culture. It seems to be a bit of a theme developing this morning. But you've got to understand that in some places, that language and culture will do you zero good. It just won't help you. And you want your kids to have the best opportunity to have a good life, to be able to speak and communicate to the people around them. I mean, already, if you're a South African who wants to go to another part of the world, you're kind of limited to English-speaking countries. I mean, most South Africans who leave the country for whatever reason
are going to Canada, New Zealand,
they'll
Australia,
go to places
England.
that speak English, because those are the places where they'll be able to fit in the best, assimilate the best. And that's just practical. That's got nothing to do with, but this is how I grew up, and this is my great-great-grandfather's thing, and you just got to be practical. Seriously.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, though, you did, and we just kind of glided past this, but that Vanuatu service is back up and running.
Yes.
Because they were shut down in Pretoria, I think, and then they went to court, apparently.
Yeah. So, I mean, just speaking of Afrikaans, well, it's all been put down to the hard work of AfriForum.
Yeah, right. Again, another one of those organizations who keeps winning. I mean, if our government won as much as AfriForum won, then we would have an unbelievably successful country.
They've had a busy year already.
And listen, if you hate AfriForum, cool, but you got to admit that's kind of embarrassing that some civil society, and who did we have here the other day? Ernst van Zyl, right? He's here he sat in that chair with us on the show last Wednesday, and he told you what AfriForum's all about. And it's an organization where 300 and something thousand people have come together. They fund it. They're fixing potholes. They're doing things for all of us that most of us are not even paying for. And these guys are doing a better job than our government, and they're a tiny organization. I mean, really, government, you should be ashamed of yourselves that these guys are able to do this. And then they go and beat you in court too, when you try to shut them down because you're just fucking racist.
Yeah, apparently it's not only Vanuatu though. Apparently quite a few e-hailing vehicles were impounded. Not only from Vanuatu, but obviously
But they targeted them. Of course they did.
Yeah. So they're back on the road. Vanuatu CEO Judith van der Walt says justice was served. She said it's a big victory for e-hailing drivers in Tshwane.
Hey, I've got a solution just based on these stories from this morning. I'll send Anela a WhatsApp later and say, just use Vanuatu. You won't have this problem with them. Those oaks, they might be like, you might have some guy in a two-tone khaki shirt sitting in the front of the car going, Vanuatu wil jy mevrou gaan. But you'll be safe as houses, right?
Listen, no human is exempt from being a deviant.
Yeah, well, I promise you these oaks are not going to last very long in that company if they say anything even slightly untoward. So yeah, there's the way to go.
And this was all in celebration of International Mother Tongue Day. That's why all of this language stuff is big today.
Okay.
It's all been tied to that. So yeah.
Stray Eyes Shithole 19 says Bitcoin, but Farsi is actually the language spoken in Iran. Yes, we were kidding. It's not goat, obviously. Farsi is very, very ancient language, Persian. And that's what people speak in Iran. And Iran is not all backwards. It's just the ayatollahs and mullahs that are. Ha, ha, ha. Joy Reid had her show cancelled. I can see her and Don Lemon starting their own podcast. Put a picture up here. You don't know who Joy Reid is because we don't really watch MSNBC in this country. But this woman is just one of the worst people ever on television. And for the longest time, she's basically just had meltdown after meltdown. And she's losing audience at a rate of knots. So this is what she looks like. There's Joy Reid. I mean, it's hard to tell whether she looks like the one on the left or just take that comment away.
Same people.
One on the left or one on the right. Is it her? Is it the same person?
Yeah.
But look at those crazy eyes. Okay, so anyway, Joy Reid, a.k.a. the race lady at MSNBC, just had her show canceled because it was unwatchable. Good riddance to the most vitriolic, lowbrow, unhinged race hustler ever allowed on national television. Yeah, she's gone, and I don't think we'll hear from her for a long time again because it's not like she has a bunch of people who'll follow her to wherever she's going. She's one of those people who needs the institutional media to back her if she's to be seen and heard. So cheers, bye, good riddance. I'm surprised that the Vanuatu CEO is Afrikaans. See, when I went to school, they were still taught sarcasm. All right, so that's an interesting point. Joy Reid looks like Malema. No, she does not look like Malema, Adrian. What kind of comments that to make? Hanan says, I don't think they watch MSNBC anywhere. That's true. Congo Chris goes, ding dong, the witch is dead. The wicked witch is dead. Now we just have to get rid of those terrible women on The View.
Oh my gosh.
And then the world will get back to, plants will sprout in the desert. Rain will fall in places where it's super dry.
Women will become fertile everywhere.
Everything. The animals, the land of milk and honey will just open up all over the world. Imagine abundance for everybody if we just get rid of those witches.
I can't watch that show, and it's meant to target women. I can't.
Okay, so my worst of all of them is actually Joy Behar, another Joy. It's so funny that two women on TV with the name Joy are the most joyless creatures on earth. I swear that I've seen like fruit bats that are more joyful than either of those people, and their names are Joy. Like, talk about the opposite of nominative determinism.
There we go.
Right? That's a good word for a Monday.
Yeah.
Good term for a Monday. Anyway, there's two Joys now. If they could just get rid of that Joy Behar, it'll be great.
Can't picture her.
Oh, she's terrible. She's the one with the big bouffant ginger hair, and she's like this old yenta.
Oh, yes.
And she talks like this.
Yeah.
She's just a horrible, horrible old. There she is. She's the one in the middle.
Mm.
She kind of took over the Barbara Walters place.
Something did go wrong.
Yeah. There it is. There's the ladies on The View, if you can call them ladies. All right. Whoopi will stick around like an old fart. Hey.
Well, she did fart on The View once.
She did fart on The View.
Yes.
We played the clip. Yeah. SNL did a sketch about The View. Very funny. Joy Reid and Mr. Fake News CNN should collaborate on a podcast. Oh, yeah. They also got rid of that guy from CNN. What's his name? The guy who used to do the evening show. And they wanted to, he thought he was getting prime time, and then they got rid of him. Anyway, just see if you can look him up. No, leave The View. When you feel down, you look at their clips and you feel much better about yourself. Don Lemon's also out there but he saw the axing coming. So he started his online presence stuff a lot. Joy wouldn't have seen that at all. She's too stupid. I had no internet at home yesterday.
Well, that's been the standard for me up until this weekend. Finally, my landlord's got upgraded to a better modem. That's all it took.
So, guys, if we carry on, then this still goes into the recording, right? Okay, yeah, that's fine. So your landlord got a better modem and kicked you out?
No, so I haven't had internet at home for ages, and all of the cool ideas was involved Vumatel, but all it was a modem. It needed to be upgraded.
Oh my God, that's all it was.
That's all it was. So that was a quick fix.
I was walking around. Are we back on? Yeah, I was walking around my house yesterday, going from the study where the internet, the actual internet lives.
Where it
right?
stays, yes.
My internet lives.
Don't stray too far.
So I've got that, and then I've got a relay one on the other side of the house. And I thought, there's something wrong with it. I have to go and buy a new modem tomorrow or whatever. But it turns out that everyone in the neighborhood was out because I think they just ran out of power. That's probably what caused the whole thing, because it came on at like 10:30 at night last night, and everything
Perfect
was
time
fine.
for porn.
Well, I by 10:30 on a Sunday, I'm just useless.
No.
I'm like, I couldn't even be bothered. I was meant to send some clips to James. I do have one or two of them actually, but I had no internet for a long time, so that's scary. It's amazing how we prioritize. So I think it's water, then electricity, then internet.
Yeah, because not flushing the loo is the worst.
That's the
thing that
worst,
can happen
right?
to you.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Okay, so speaking of terrible, look at Donald Trump. He had a dinner at the White House for governors of the various states, and he decided to especially single out the governor of Maine, who's this terrible left-wing lady who refuses to implement his executive order on, what was it? Oh, yeah, women in men's sport. Right?
Oh, yes.
So, he said that there are only two genders and that guys shouldn't be able to compete with women in sport, which is something that is very common sense. I think most people in the world accept that, even people who are all about the pronouns, that's all good, but you shouldn't have a guy in boxing beating up on a girl. Everybody knows when they see that instinctively it's wrong. It's not about that, though. I want you to see how he handled her. If You got the clip of him talking about the governor of Maine? And then she's in the audience, so she responds. She's like, I'll see you in court. Listen to what he says. I just love this. This
2
guy
weeks
doesn't give a
ago, I
shit.
signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race. The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
I just love it. He is just not taking any prisoners, huh?
Was that supposed to be like a
And
fun
enjoy your
event or
life.
not?
And he goes and enjoy your life after being governor of Maine because you won't be in elected politics anymore. He's right. This is like it's a common sense position, but you see, she's got sunken cost problem. You know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sunken cost syndrome is where you've invested so much in a certain thing.
Not necessarily money.
It could be money. I mean, like, let's say, for example, that you are a farmer and now you've bought 800,000 maize seeds, but you suddenly realize you're in an area that can't grow maize. So you try and plant the maize anyway. And then you lose that harvest and you lose the next one. But you just keep going because you've already paid for these 800,000 seeds. So you keep doing the wrong thing. So if you've believed that left-wing identitarianism, which is part of this whole woke thing, I mean, whatever you want to call it, because it's a toxic thing now to label stuff inaccurately. So I'm just going to call it identitarianism. If that's what you've based your political positioning on, your ideological bent on, then you have to keep going down that road. You got to double down every time, right? So even though you see a big burly man beating up a woman in a boxing ring, and you know instinctively that isn't right. I don't like this.
You have to keep
You
going.
have to go, well, he's actually a woman because he identifies as a woman. And so I've got to support this because this is what my party has done for the last one. So it's sunken costs.
Instead of being like, okay, so things have changed. How are we going to work around this? What can we do to make it better?
It's like people like you during COVID, who were like all for the masks, all for the vaccines, all for all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And while I can have a conversation with you about this, there are so many others who I've got a good friend. Okay, we used to really get along well. And we traveled to like conferences and things together. Smart guy, by no means an idiot. You can't have any conversation with him about any of that stuff because he absolutely refuses to admit that he was wrong, that he had the whole story back to front because he's complicit, you see. He's now, it's not just that he was involved and had the wrong opinion. That's cool. You can always forgive a friend if they go, you know what, I think I might have been wrong on that. Because it takes a lot of strength of character and humility to be able to admit that you were wrong. But in his case, he's actually complicit because he forced like his kid to get vaccinated.
Well, I was going to say
all kinds of stuff that he now probably deep down inside, I think he sleeps badly at night thinking about what he did and what was unnecessary and how he was like Karening about masks and reporting his neighbors.
When you're protecting your family, whether it's your elderly parents, whether it's people who may have mental conditions and they're not going to survive being alone in your family, whether you have kids, those things played a big part. Where you just freaking
you
do
worried
it,
and
you protect.
And wouldn't it be great if that was what they said? If they just said, like, I didn't know, you didn't know, nobody knew, because we didn't. And I just did what I thought was right to look after the people I care about. I'd be like, you know what, dude, that's perfect. But he and I haven't seen him for a little while, but the last time I did, he was like, he was angry about everything. I was like,
well, he's probably still.
You don't have the right to be angry. Like, we must be angry with you. You were on the wrong side of this issue.
He's probably still trying to accept the whole thing.
Yeah, he hasn't got over it.
Yeah.
And to be frank, sometimes I wonder if I have, because when I said all those years ago that this is wrong and we shouldn't be just complying with this shit and like doing what sheep do and following the herd, and everybody climbed into me. So I think I'm still, I've got a little bit of PTSD from that too. But just admit you're wrong. Like,
I don't know.
I've admitted I'm wrong.
There were some things that I actually miss about it. I liked the fact that people had clean hands. I liked the fact that no one was breathing down my neck in a queue or coughing in my ears.
No, like you're there's a silver lining.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Friday we showed a picture of the new optimistic, because Nosferatu is so disappointing and
That's when
depressing.
disappointing and
Because
depressing get
Nosferatu
married.
starts with a no, and I thought like it's very down of Nosferatu, so it became Yesferatu. But then someone sent me this over the weekend, which is Yasferatu. That's even more like fabulous, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I thought this was funny too. Somebody's uncle went to a feminist rally, and he dressed up. He dressed up as a caveman with a club.
Oh my Lord.
No. Look at how this guy's uncle dressed at the feminist rally. This is hilarious. Look, he's a caveman and he's carrying his wife around by the hair.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine how those feminists sort of lost their minds?
Oh jeez.
Okay, I like that very much. That was fun.
The feminist potato taste.
And then we haven't got time now because we've got to go to Dr. Hanan. Is he on? Okay, we're going to go to Dr. Hanan. But I have the funniest thing which became viral on, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week, and I saved it specially for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think you probably already know, but we'll get to it just now.
Okay,
it's like
good.
a little surprise for us in a while.
Nice.
We're going to talk to Dr. Hanan, who, of course, is our weekly check-in with the shrink, and God knows we don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
I think we need it more than anyone else. Don't laugh. So what do you think that's funny?
No, listen, everybody needs a friend.
I'll tell you something. When you weren't there for those first couple of weeks of January, you could feel how people were, they were just unraveling.
It's true.
Having you on the show is very important to us. Very important.
No, it's like a first cup of coffee, first thing in the morning. I get it.
Damn right. Well, that's why we have you on a Monday. It's not by accident. All right. So, Dr. Hanan, we were talking about the other day, like there's so many things that we could discuss, and every week it's not as if we're struggling to find things to talk about because we can go deep. So this is the power of nostalgia. Someone sent this in to us. It said, why do we romanticize the past, and how does nostalgia impact our emotions? And it might not just be nostalgia. It might be an attachment emotionally or psychologically to something which is gone, which is finished, which is past. Why can't we get rid of that easily? Why does it take some of us so much longer to get over things? And I'm speaking as objectively as I can here because I get over stuff very quickly, but other people in my life don't, right? They tend to hang on to things. And then I realize that I've moved on and I'm happy and I treat them exactly the way that I did before. And then they're pissed off with me because I don't remember.
Right. Well, the main reason why people hold on mainly to the past, whether it's good or bad, is because the brain likes to make sense of the world. And when we go through an experience that we didn't like, or maybe closure that we didn't get, maybe a breakup, maybe a particular event that didn't resonate, then the brain always wants to go back and just close that loop. So we rethink these moments. But the problem is by rethinking this, you don't necessarily close the loop. You close actually the loop by moving forward and creating new life experiences in the present, not by looking backwards. So yeah, looking backwards in a negative way. Listen, if you're nostalgic about wonderful experiences that you've had with your kids, and maybe that motivates you to maybe connect with them more, wonderful experiences that you've had with your partner, and that helps you connect more in the present, that's great. But to rethink events that have happened, especially traumatic or negative events, and try and make sense of them intellectually is almost a waste of time. You got to be experiencing new things in order to reframe the past.
Okay, so this brings up dealing with change, which I think is for many people a difficult thing to do. And maybe because it's the beginning of the year still, I mean, we can still squeeze that in, even though it's almost March. Change affects some people very differently. They might think they're good at change, but very few people are. And I think it makes everyone uncomfortable, even those of us who think we're pretty good at dealing with it. Because while you're going through it, it is an uncomfortable process. Somehow we've been taught that life is always going, this is what we're sold, that life is always going to be easy. It can always be comfortable. If you're uncomfortable or you feel unsafe, then it must be a mental health condition, or everybody's conspiring against you, or that the whole system
you're unlucky and you're a victim.
Or that the whole system is just, rallied against you. So the reality is that change will happen. There will be uncomfortable things. That's conditioned human. Like that's how we are as people. So how do you help people, and what advice do you give people who are feeling very put upon because they're dealing with change and it's very complicated and it's difficult, and stop them from slipping into what Leigh-Ann just brought up, which is that victim complex?
So a couple of things. Number one, change is inevitable. And here's another common denominator in terms of the human condition. Nobody likes change. People do dislike change. And the reason why we don't like change is because the brain really has one function, which is survival. And the way your brain ensures your survival is it wants to conserve energy. And the best way for the brain to conserve energy, metabolic energy, is to stay within your comfort zone, because you're always functioning on autopilot. So driving from point A to point B requires zero energy because you're on autopilot.
Yeah.
But if I now change the accelerator and the brake around, driving from your home to the nearest shops becomes very difficult, because now your brain has to rethink things and develop new ways of managing its world. So nobody likes change. And, and I hear people say, but Hanan, I've got a friend, or I've got a cousin, or I've got a this or that, or myself as well, that I love change. Well, that's your familiarity.
Yeah.
That is, change is your familiarity. So you don't like consistency.
Yeah.
Right.
So change for you would be a consistent world. So nobody likes change, and all change is different to what you are familiar with. Because again, that requires a whole new ways of learning how to engage the world. What I tell people is that the world is constantly changing. So you've got no choice. It's not like the universe is giving you a choice between like change or dislike change. You're not going to like it, but it's going to happen. And I always mention, and I live by this philosophy, that meaning is always gained in the rearview mirror. And what that means is that we might go through a difficult time at the moment, when we can't make sense of it. We can only make sense of it once we move forward and look back. So a good example is, we've all been through maybe a terrible breakup and, at school, or our first relationship. And in the moment, it feels really awful. It doesn't feel nice, and we don't understand why. But as we move forward and we find new relationships, now we can look back and see, oh, well, now I see why I had to have the breakup, or I had to have the relationship. And I'm glad that we ended it. Now you can attain or ascertain meaning out of that negative experience, but only because you've moved forward. So to people that do struggle with change, just move forward with a particular constitution. Know what you're aiming towards. You will make sense of your difficult time, but keep on moving forward. Listen, I got in flack for the chin up versus the chin down approach. The chin down is staying stuck. Why me? Why me? Why me?
Yeah.
The chin up is, what do I do to make myself better? How do I progress? How do I improve? What do I do to become a better version of myself tomorrow?
Yeah, and it's almost those cliches apply, but I say them to myself often. And obviously, with experience, you realize it's true. Nothing lasts forever.
Tough times never last.
Whatever situation you're in,
last.
It's going to pass. This too shall pass is another one, and everything's going to be okay is another one. It's just
But you know what the thing, Leigh-Ann,
time.
is, what people have to understand is that people think because they've gone through trauma or through massive loss or maybe terrible life events, people think that they get used to it. And just because I've gone through one loss, why doesn't the next loss feel better? Just because I've gone through so much change, why am I still struggling with it? Well, because we don't get used to it. We don't get used to loss, and we don't get used to grief, and we don't get used to, rejection, and we don't get used. I mean, actually, if you get used to it, you become sicker. It doesn't make you a better person. People that are, I'm used to rejection, those are very cynical people. People that, I'm used to loss. Well, that's a mental condition. You shouldn't be used to it and know how to deal with it in a better way, because every event is just different. So as long as you understand that dealing with one change doesn't necessarily equip you to deal with another change, except what it does, it allows you to understand, as you've said, that nothing lasts forever. I just got to keep on moving on, knowing that everything is going to be okay and it will make sense down the line.
Yeah. That's if you speak about like traumatic, life-changing events, that period of pain, often you hear people saying, when will this pain go away? And it does. You've just got to hold on to it. Hold on, keep moving forward, because you're not going to be in that terrible pain forever, no matter what.
Yeah, but the key is to keep on moving forward. Yeah. That's the key. The key in what you said is to keep on moving forward. People think that, time heals everything, and it's not true. Time heals nothing. It's what you do with that time that heals. So if, for example, I've gone through a loss and I decide to cover my head with a duvet and stay stuck and hope that the pain goes away, well, at some point I've got to get out of bed and engage life again, and the pain's going to come back. So it's not about me stopping and waiting and giving it time, but rather me moving forward. You have a responsibility as a husband, you have a responsibility as a wife, you have a responsibility as a father, as a son, as a friend, etc., etc., etc. Take those responsibilities seriously and move forward in those lanes. By moving forward, you'll be able to look back and make sense of and meaning of those events, but keep on moving forward.
Right. And just don't be sad. It's so boring for the rest of us.
just pull up your socks.
Really, I mean, I don't know how much I could put up with, frankly. Just stop being fucking misery guts, all right? The worst
things you can say to someone crying, stop crying and pull up your socks.
Pull up your socks. Nobody's buying what you're selling, all right? Stop being a misery. You're a criminus. You're making everybody else unhappy. Stop it.
But the truth is, I mean, even though we're joking and it sounds quite callous, the reality is that the opposite of depression is moving forward. As long as you move forward and you're progressing towards meaning and purpose, things that are valuable to you, it's impossible to be depressed. You can't be depressed and move forward towards meaningful pursuits. So the moment you're chasing something that is of meaning to you, whatever that might be, as a father, as a husband, as a in your pursuit in terms of your job,
as a
making money, traveling the world, you can't be depressed.
Firefighter,
whatever, firefighter, doll house builder, whatever it is, whatever you do. But I like that. I like what you said. It's not. So the opposite of depression is moving forward. The opposite of depression isn't happiness.
It's almost like a fish that needs oxygen and its gills and needs to move forward.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Because moving forward can be difficult. Moving forward doesn't always make you feel happy. I could be, progressing in the gym. It doesn't necessarily make me happy in that moment. I could be progressing through a marriage. It doesn't mean that I'm happy all the time or through any pursuit.
But this is
but moving forward, you can't be
okay. So just quickly, this is why I brought that up in the intro, because I also reckon that we're being sold a bill of goods on what the human experience is like. That you're expecting that just because you're alive and you're human, life should be easy and comfortable and safe the whole time. And that is not the 100%. Point, right? Being human is tough.
Completely. But you choose your tough. How many times have we said on the show, being healthy is tough, being unhealthy is tough.
Yeah.
Being in a good relationship is tough, being in a bad relationship is tough. Being financially secure is tough, being insecure is tough. The tough doesn't go away.
Yeah, I love it.
You choose your tough.
All right, Doc. Thank you for
guys.
Thank you for
have the best Monday. Have the best week ever.
Thank you. Thank you for our weekly check-in. There we go. Dr. Hanan Bushkin. Make sure that you follow him on the socials as well. He posts a lot of really interesting stuff. Little videos, little clips that might end up, giving you just a bit of recommendation, bit of motivation, bit of smart, sensible psychology that'll get you back on track if you're having a particularly tough week. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we have got that surprise from social media for Leigh-Ann and so much more. Don't go anywhere.
What a disaster once again. I'm 0-4 at FNB Stadium. But this is what you get, Kaizer Chiefs, for hiring a coach who can't speak English and who has to speak through his translator. Kaizer Chiefs, once again, I hate to use the F-bomb, but it around. I blame the family, and I'm throwing a real Kaizer Chiefs rant on this one. This is all your fault. We deserve better. Clip this and put this on, our Instagram feed for a little cut, because I really feel this is a strong statement from every Chiefs fan.
You know somebody's not a good person. He starts a rumor that I'm gay. Okay? That wasn't enough for him.
The problem is
he knows a lot of people. So he tells us to everybody.
Sure.
Some don't believe him. But the mark of a
gay guy.
The mark of an is that he then changed the algorithm by on his phone and laptop. He would search Trevor Kumbi gay. So anytime that anybody searches Trevor Kumbi, first thing that comes up is Trevor Kumbi gay. Because he's done it so often. It's the first thing that...
He's programmed the search engine.
Dog,
Nothing changed.
He's not a good person.
Nothing changed. He's still the same guy now. He doesn't still say. He still does the same now in the office.
This look, actually.
Anyways.
Why are you gay?
Hi, everybody. It's Monday morning. I'm here with Leigh-Ann Mol. We got a guest popping in the next little while. I think it's going to be lots of fun, and it's a good way to start your week.
Nice.
We had our shrink appointment. Now,
Feeling good.
yeah, now we can move
Looking
on.
forward, moving forward.
All right, so this is quite an interesting thing. I can't believe, because maybe you do know this happened. So someone was driving. I think they were in a taxi, and they saw this guy wanking.
Oh,
No. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, okay. Have I got to start to your day for
no.
you? All right. So, so the funny thing is that they've got the registration and everything.
Is this local?
Yeah.
No, Mansus.
In Ladysmith or something. All right. So play the video of the guy, because this has got to be. First of all, why, dude? Why during the day? Why with the windows open in your car?
So is there no one in the car with him?
No.
I imagined it to be like a taxi full of people.
No. Take a look.
Ew.
Here it is.
Nang buge, usain job lum buga, buga, buga.
You know that internet meme where the guy goes, "Oh no,
Oh no, oh no.
Right, so it's like that.
That's the funny. I mean, if that laugh is really coming from the people filming,
It is.
it's not canned.
No, that's real.
Then that's what makes
And-
that the most funny.
I just that has got to be the dumbest decision that guy's made, because now apparently the registration
Oh
is
god.
all over the place and people are talking about it. It's just really shitty. And there's this video which also went viral over the weekend. Apparently it's nonsense, but I don't know. So I'm just going to put it out there and ask you, and maybe there are people who are working in the education department who know something more than this. It's not just what you told us earlier about Banyaza Sufi trying to get us to learn Mandarin and Swahili at school, but apparently there are discussions around a grade 13. So imagine you go into matric this year,
It's like another
and
year,
you think,
year added onto
I'll
your
be
sentence.
finished with school at the end of this year, and then they say to you, oh, by the way, the Department of
Oh.
Education has decided that there's going to be a grade 13. So this came up on a lot of people's feeds over the weekend. I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but I thought it's worth a discussion. So here, take a look at this guy.
Africa is getting a grade 13. High school no longer ends in grade 12. It now finishes in grade 13. From 1st Jan 2026, basic education will add another grade after grade 12. There will be grade 13.
Okay, so first
I
of
don't
all,
know. I haven't seen anything else.
So let's just suspend disbelief. Let's imagine it's true.
Mm.
How's that going to make it better?
Yeah, you see, because immediately I thought there are some people who might need that extra year.
Retarded people.
But the thing is, if high school has not worked for them so far,
Yeah, why
as
would an
for
extra year? Why would
12
you
years of
put them
school,
through another year of hell?
13's not going to do the
Okay.
trick.
Very bad idea. Whoever came up with this, if it is a thing that they're even considering, let's say they discussed it at some meeting and that leaked. That's all. That's where the basis and genesis of the story is.
I mean, how would it help?
It would not help.
It would.
It would. Then we'd be dumb for another year. Like you're adding an extra year of dumb. You're not going to make it, guys. I need to go and speak to the Minister of Education. I just need to sit there for 5 minutes. They can chase me out of the building after that and never talk to me again. Human beings are like a computer. All right? The computer, it may be a slightly fucked up computer, or it may be a very, very fast, brilliant computer. There are different people. But sometimes the motherboard of the computer is actually burnt out. Okay? Like there's smoke coming from it. None of the connections work anymore. Now, if the motherboard of your computer is screwed, there is no amount of education you can put into the machine.
Software ain't going to help.
Yeah, and education is just software. You don't take a dumb person and make them clever with education. There was one guy who was at school with me. He was just dumb. There was nothing. The teachers tried with him. They'd put him at the front of the class. They'd put him at the back of the class.
In the corner of the class.
They'd give him the book with the pictures.
Outside the class.
It didn't help, okay? He was just a fucking gonk. He was an idiot. There was nothing you could do for him. And I don't know what he's doing today. If he's still alive, he's not in jail. But there was nothing you could teach him. The information didn't go in and stay. It was sometimes trickled in and then it went out almost immediately.
Mm.
And he'd sit and laugh at farts and
No, hang
pick
on.
his nose. And
I take offense to that.
okay, no, I laugh at farts, but he would fart and then laugh. Okay, let me put it that way. And he was not going to be better. There's no amount of
He may have found his niche. You never know.
Look, I'm not saying that he's completely useless to society, but there's only a certain amount of stuff that guy could ever do.
Mm.
And listen, I mean, some very, very smart people are, super specialized and not good at other things, and that's cool. But they have a role to play, and so does this dumb friend of mine, right? This was never a friend, dumb guy at school with me. What the government needs to realize, and they just don't get this, is that education is a system whereby you are uploading software programs to people. It's like teaching people a language. It's a software program. But if the hardware is destroyed and the hardware doesn't compute properly, you're wasting your time putting software in because your software is just going to get stuck and it's not going to go where it needs to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right. So an extra year of high school is not going to help anyone. All it's going to do is cost us more as a country.
And our employment figures will look better because you technically can't be employed for that
another
extra
year.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's the whole.
That's one thing I was thinking of.
That's what they're trying to do. It's like when they keep dropping the standard of maths, for example, then it looks like we're getting cleverer because
everyone's getting 100%.
Yeah, because suddenly you can't add. Well, it's 5 and 5. It must be 9. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you pass. And then our pass rate goes up, but actually we're allowing dumb people to get away with being dumb.
Yeah.
Guys,
all in the optics.
Even if this is not true, and I think it's probably like 80% bullshit, but it's a story and it made people think. And I just can't imagine how terrible it must be for someone who's just started grade 12 and they're
no.
Oh my God, they're going to add another year at the end of this year.
No, you can't do that to a person that's soul destroying.
Imagine.
I still have nightmares that I've gone back to school because I've only just found out that I actually didn't pass the last year. I mean, I'm nearly 50 years old and I still have nightmares
about exams
about
and things.
an extra year of school. And because I can't fit into the dress when I put it on, right? It's the worst.
Oh, speaking of not being able to fit in the dress, here's a picture of the Beatles. But it's the fat Beatles, and they're called the dire Beatles. Right? Beatles.
The one in the far back left looks like a woman. Well, Paul McCartney looks like an old grand now, doesn't he?
He does look like a grand.
Yeah.
Find a picture, Flex.
And
See if
it's
you can find a
true.
picture of Paul McCartney 2025.
He
looks like a grand.
You're losing testosterone. Testosterone are the square jawline.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's one of the reasons why men actually become more tearful and
because they have less testosterone.
Yes.
So in other words, in some ways they become more relatable.
Become more like women, but they're not allowed to go to the women's bathrooms in the old age home.
And they can't fight with women in the boxing ring. We'd prefer if they didn't do that. All right, so there we go. I've really made your morning, I hope. I've given you a reason to fear going back to school, and I've shown you a guy who was jerking off in the car.
Did he, because the screen was quite far away, I just needed to ask quickly, did he stop when the truck hooted?
I don't know. I mean, it's all kind of fuzzy.
I don't want to watch it again, though. So
no, I don't want to. It's too embarrassing, right? You know, sometimes you see something happen to someone else and you're embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the thing. But during the day, on the highway.
But it's so weird how if you're a politician or whatever, being bussed, or maybe a news anchor, being bussed cheating on your wife. Or
well, it used to be a thing. I don't think it's even a thing anymore.
You know, being bussed for embezzling funds or those things are kind of, people will be angry with you for it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to wanking, it's hard to actually be like angry with them. It's not like you actually just feel complete shame.
So the responses on the internet they ranged from "what a guy," which is not the right response, to "oh my God, that's the most embarrassing thing ever," and everything in between.
Yeah.
So anyway, by the way, don't try to solve other people's problems. There's this great article that I read in some American newspaper over the weekend about how people come to the most stupid conclusions about helping other people. Like, there's this brilliant cartoon of a woman standing at a grave, and she goes, "Have you thought about a vision board?" There. Look, maybe you should make a vision board. So, people try to help sometimes, and that doesn't help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you don't need to get involved in all of these things. And
it's also too little too late.
Yeah. And then there's one other thing that only you would like, you and I, because we're a certain age. So here's a picture of Phil Collins and something that he made up back in the 80s. And we still don't know what it is. Okay. Where's that Phil Collins picture? Yeah. It's been 40 years and I still don't know what Susudio means.
Susudio, that.
Yeah. It's a song that he sang, right? We still don't know what it is. But I do know this, that even though we don't know what Susudio is and what it means, it's very important that we protect it because it's from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it
Everything
needs
must
to
be preserved.
It must be preserved. We got to look after Susudio. Okay, but it's a very 80s word, right?
Yeah.
You can almost, just show that picture again. Look at that shirt he's wearing.
It's the lighting
the
for me.
80s was so great.
The lighting.
Look at this. Okay, so it's hairstyle, shirt, lighting,
pose.
It's just so good. Susudio, ladies and gentlemen. That's what that means. You want to guess what it means?
Actually, I've seen him lately.
Yeah, shame he's not doing well.
Yeah.
He's got like Parkinson's or something.
I can't remember.
Or he's Alzheimer's, or he's got like some deterioration. Poor guy. He looks like a mentally stable Sam Smith.
Yes, he does actually. He looks like he could. Yeah, if Sam Smith. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, that's nice. What else have we got? Oh, there's Paul McCartney, the old gran. Yeah, but you see, he's got a bit of a beard going on there.
That could
Listen,
be your gran.
I'll tell you what, he doesn't look so bad, hey? There he looks like a gran. Hello, darling. Would
Come
you like
here
a
and
sweetie?
give me a big kiss.
Give me a hello, bad darling.
From my
You look very, very handsome today. Would you like to give Granny a kiss?
Ooh, Leigh-Ann, she's not a small woman, you know.
Oh, you know, when you get to my age, then you start to lose testosterone and you start looking like a gran. That's what he looks like. I don't know. I mean, part of me says, like, I hope one day. How old is Paul McCartney? He must be 84, 85.
I don't know these things anymore.
How old is he? 82. Okay. He doesn't look too bad. He looks like a gran, but he doesn't look too bad.
Mm,
I mean, I'd rather look like him than some people.
yeah.
But you remember the Beatles had that song that my parents used to laugh at. They'd be like, ha, 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 that'll be when we're very old. It's called When I'm 64.
Oh.
It goes, when I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine, birthday greeting, bottle of wine? Anyway, it's all about getting old. 64, Paul McCartney, that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so part of me, like, I'd rather be Paul McCartney, but then there's also the fact that he looks like a gran.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so that's those things. Then we've also got these things. Apparently, there's a spooky shopping mall in South Africa
Mm,
where the shops are empty.
yeah.
And it's been like that for a long time because apparently there's this shopping mall in Pretoria. Look at it. Look.
Ooh. Has it not been taken over by people? Is it not being lived
No,
in?
look, no one's gone there for ages. So apparently what's happened is there's been a decade of litigation and funding challenges faced by the Nova Property Group.
Ooh, do you know how much money you
Took over
lose
the-
in a situation like
Yeah,
that?
after the collapse of ShareMax, they took over. Despite plans to restart, the villa remains an abandoned ghost mall,
Mm,
requiring over $1 billion to complete it, while China shopping mall struggles with high vacancies, vandalism, and electricity disputes. Nova's last update in December 2023 indicated continued efforts to secure investment and resolve legal issues, but no significant progress has been made. And those are pretty scary pictures. And I don't know how many of them are actually in the mall, but a lot of them are just from the outside, and it just looks like it's been mothballed completely. That's
mm.
so bad, right? Look at that.
I just feel sorry for. I hope it's not affected a number of families who were invested. You know, the corporates who have invested in that, because
Yeah.
there's no coming out of that. You've got to put so much more in. You can't get
Sunken
out of that
cost.
situation.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Sunken cost. So I don't know. They should probably just shut it down. And then for those people who are into Bitcoin, and Cyril would call that a smart mall, says Steve. Yeah. Look, we've got a smart mall. It's what I announced in my budget, in my State of the Nation address.
We've been having it.
Oh, yeah, lovely. So apparently hackers have stolen $1.5 billion in what may be the largest cryptocurrency theft ever,
Sure.
breaching the Dubai-based Bybit exchange's Ethereum wallet during a routine transfer.
So not one person.
No, despite the loss, Bybit assured users that all funds are backed and withdrawals remain unaffected. The incident raises concerns over crypto security, with foreign investigators working to trace the stolen assets. Sounds just like this is no different to people breaking into a bank.
Mm,
And apparently, the breach adds $2.2 billion stolen 303 crypto hacks in 2024, highlighting vulnerabilities in an industry largely unregulated compared to traditional banking. You just got to watch this stuff.
jeez.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day how I don't carry a purse around anymore.
Yeah. Just your phone, right?
Yeah, just my
Mm.
phone. But you're still so vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you open it up, you hover it over the machine.
Yep.
Anybody could see that you've got internet banking at that stage, and
Mhm.
it costs you on the way out.
Yep.
Again, that's just thinking the whole time of protecting yourself.
You do. You have to. And then just to prove this, there was a guy who suspected his wife was trying to poison him swapped his meals with his son, and set up cameras to prove it.
But that means that he knew his son was being poisoned.
Yeah, but she was doing it slowly, so he could have stopped it. But apparently an Australian court heard how a guy called Robert Knapinski, I know it sounds a little bit like Ben's surname, right? He's 64.
Similar.
He set up a trap to test his wife, Bozina. Her name is Bozina. So Bozina is 63. She was trying to kill him. After suspecting she was trying to poison him, he hid cameras capturing her adding dangerously high levels of selenium to his drinking water. He reported her to the police in April 2023 after storing 13 bottles as evidence. Now, Bozina, the evil Bozina. I just love that. It's not a real name, right?
It's a clown name.
Bozina has pleaded not guilty to 6 counts of intent to harm. She claims she was trying to improve his health. Prosecutors argue their marriage had become toxic, well, in more ways than one.
Yeah.
While her defense insists Robert was a hypochondriac. He's just a hypochondriac. Here are the bottles of like selenium water.
Oh, word.
But he's a hypochondriac.
What is selenium? Is it
Selenium is a chemical element that comes just under sulfur. So it's in the oxygen group of elements.
could it be mistaken
chalcogens.
for something that's good for you?
You need a bit of selenium, and the moon goddess was called Selene. So there's an ancient link to selenium being related to the moon. But actually, selenium is hugely important for us to be able to see things. So you need a certain amount of selenium. It gives you...
Oh, he saw things, all right.
Gives you measurement on light. It gives you an ability to see things in dim light. And you need a bit of selenium as a trace element. But it's not massively important in your body. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of a percentage of your total
So she
makeup.
wasn't just trying... She wasn't... Yeah, that's a lie.
Yeah, I think too much of anything can be toxic, but selenium's a funny choice. She must have done a little bit of research there. So it wasn't
She's not such a bozo.
No, Bozina, though. That's her name. I wouldn't marry anyone called Bozina if I were you.
No,
Like just some general
I'd be too
advice going forward.
embarrassed.
You know, if James brings home Bozina and she's like, I can't wait to be Bozina Ilsley, then we will know to, that's not a good, that's not where you want to be, Bozina.
No.
In fact, wasn't that shopping center in Pretoria that was called the Bozina Mall, right? Everything's linked. It's unbelievable. Hey, James, do you want to come and give us some sport? Yeah, because we haven't done that, and people are going to go, oh no, we've missed out on James's sport. Oh, now I've got to give it. By the way, James and I, again, just proving that this office, because we often will wear black on the same day or whatever in the office, but today James and I are wearing exactly the same gray jeans and gray t-shirts. Oh, he's wearing a collared shirt.
Next,
but
your
it's all
periods
gray.
are going to start sinking.
Well, that sofa that you're sitting on used to be orange, but look, it's also gone gray.
It's true.
It's not a good thing, I'm telling you. So we'll get to that in a moment. There's something else you wanted to tell us about, which is, and I think this is quite important for people, is AI getting cleverer or not? So scientists have been testing AI for cognitive decline, and we have some results that may shock you. Dun, dun, dun.
So it's been not even 2 years, right, since ChatGPT became publicly available. And you would think, because it's a learning platform, that it learns from you, it learns from input, it learns from other
it should get better.
GPT platforms, it should get better. So scientists have put a number of GPTs, or as they're called, LLMs, or large language modules, through a cognitive impairment or improvement test.
Okay.
That a human would go through, but they've adapted it so that a computer can do it. So they looked at versions 4 and 4.0 of ChatGPT, 2 versions of Alphabet's Gemini, and version 3.5 of Anthropic's Claude.
Okay.
Cognitive decline, a level of cognitive decline was found in all of them. And so far gone, in fact, that it's comparable to neurodegenerative processes in the human brain.
This is This is crazy information.
It's becoming dumber.
no,
you
it's
were wondering.
no, but it's becoming dumber because it's interacting with us.
Do you think so?
Yeah. So again,
Draw me a monkey, and
Yeah,
it
no,
thought
no,
it was going to
because-
get these amazing
because a large
questions.
language model should be improving if the people are using language that is improving. But our language is getting dumber. And the way people talk with acronyms and emojis and all of that stuff is bound to have negative consequences on the large language model. So if you and I were talking,
So in other words,
if we
it's
wrote each
making
other,
us
if we
dumber.
wrote each other articles using as many words as we could, but better words, and explaining ourselves in great detail and actually making things more useful, expanding the language to be a little more complex as well. That's not what's happening. People are I need picture of foot.
Mhm.
And by the way, we've launched in the office our own, what is it?
Only feet.
Only feet.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. So Michaela in the office has decided this is a way for us to
You want
make money
the
as an
words
office.
feet and office together.
It's disgusting, right?
Mm.
I'm appalled, but we're going to talk to her about it on Friday.
Friday, yeah.
All right, so here's James, dressed in the same colors as me this morning.
Hello.
Go ahead, James. What do you got for us in sport?
Quite a bit.
As if
Firstly,
anyone cares, but we'll try.
I want to tell you guys that did you know?
Yeah.
South Africa plays baseball.
Sorry, I can't see you blending into the sofa too much.
Too much blue.
No, just gray.
Blue Monday.
Looks like you're a floating head.
Lex is fixing it, I think.
No, it's not.
No,
It's not a
it's
real
fine.
problem. I'm joking. I'm an idiot. All right,
Calm
carry
down,
on. What have we
Margaret.
got? Okay, give us some sport.
South Africa plays baseball, guys.
No, I didn't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do we play baseball?
Apparently we do.
Men's and
Are we
women's?
good at it?
No, we're world number 31.
Oh, we're not good at
So-
it.
Well,
at
it's
all.
not too bad.
We're higher ranked than Bafana Bafana in football.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so many countries don't even play baseball.
Nicaragua does.
What?
That place. Yeah,
Nicaragua.
that one.
Nicaragua.
Yeah.
What did you call
said.
it?
Yeah, they played and we lost to them.
We lost.
Yeah,
to
we
them.
did. We did.
Okay.
That was the first game we
There are about
played.
10 people in Nicaragua. Okay.
Exactly. First game we played at the World Baseball Classic
All right.
qualifiers. We lost to them in our first game.
That's great.
so-
We won to anyone?
No, that was our
Yes,
first game.
number
so far.
32.
Yeah.
No, Leigh-Ann, we don't know who that is. I want actual evidence, please.
That's the
Rankings
world
don't
of
matter.
baseball. That's all I've got for you. In the English Premier League, there was football this weekend. Arsenal bottled the league. Liverpool are officially winning the Premier League.
You
I know
like
a lot of
that.
people have a lot to say about that, and they're not winning the league. But
But
I
you're
can tell
happy.
you they are. I'm living my best life.
Okay. Good.
Someone who's not are the people at Accrington Stanley. They lost this weekend to Doncaster 2-1. But back in the Premier League, Chelsea, they lost to Aston Villa 2-1. Also, Newcastle, they beat Forest 4-3. And then Liverpool, they beat Man City 2-0. So, you know, life's
Amazing.
looking
You're
good.
having a good time here.
Life
I'm
is
sorry for Accrington Stanley. I really
good. It's
didn't
tough
even
for them.
know. I didn't even know they were a club up to 3-4 weeks ago. But now we're involved.
We should do Accrington Stanley Cups as merch.
No one will buy them.
Stanley Cup.
Michaela would.
No. Listen, I've got to say the funniest thing I saw on the internet this weekend, and I forgot to send you a clip of it. It's a dude with one of those big wheelie bins that the municipality can, but he's got a straw in it, and he says, "This is what Stanley," because the Stanley Cup is this
So
big, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge thing, and he's like wheeling it down the street with the straw, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, and I'm so thirsty," from this huge big thing. And that's what Stanley Cups look like.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know why everybody's so into them. Here in the
Because they're
office, we've got
very good
Michaela,
at-
Chantel.
Very good
It's all
at
the
keeping
girls,
things
right?
cold.
Chantal has two
Simpiwe
of
has
them.
one.
Yeah. Chantal has the Tyler version.
She has
Whatever that
two of
means.
them, yeah. And they're this big. They block the sun when they're on her desk. Right?
I hear you.
So that's the world of football. Champions Trophy that this weekend also happened. There was the World Cricket. Proteas, they beat Afghanistan by 107 runs.
I saw some cricket. I saw
Um,
Pakistan and India.
Pakistan, they did lose to India this
Mhm.
weekend. Australia, they beat England by 5 wickets in that high-scoring game there. And then the world of rugby, there was international rugby this weekend. The Six Nations, Wales, they played Ireland. Ireland won 27-18. England, they beat Scotland 16-15. And then France beat Italy 73-24. which is by a lot. France now just 3 points back on the log with a big match between France and Ireland next week to decide the trophy. And then in the URC, the Bulls, they played the Lions. They won 31-19. And that is the sport.
Thank you very much, James. Very important.
Thank you.
All right, while you bring our guest in to sit where you've just been sitting, I want Leigh-Ann to tell us about something that is really helpful. This is something that I think many of us can benefit from. We're always talking about which jobs are going to go the way of the dodo, right? What AI is going to replace people. It's depressing stuff, but we've got a list, thanks to Leigh-Ann, from Forbes magazine, apparently, of traditional degrees that are becoming obsolete. But here are the skills, and you will get them here on this show. Here are the skills that you need to actually make it in today's job market. Okay, so they've done the survey for us. Let's go.
They're saying it's not necessarily important to have a degree or a diploma.
Good.
Of
I've been
3 or 4
saying that
years.
for a long time.
But they are saying it's because tertiary education hasn't evolved enough
Yes.
in order to accommodate what's coming next.
Right.
So it's all about your skills. So it's all about deciding as a young person, or hopefully with the guidance of your parents, how to what courses to go on, what skills to learn, what to practice.
Okay.
Because these things are not necessarily taught in tertiary education anymore.
Okay, but like what?
Okay. So digital and tech skills. So you would use online courses like Coursera, Udacity, Google AI.
Okay, so this is in order to use AI more effectively.
Yes. And
because
also,
it doesn't help. It doesn't help having all this technology if you don't know how to prompt the right answers out of it.
yeah, but the thing is, it's teaching you how to use AI within certain fields, like in the medical field.
Right,
There's a
okay. Or
specific way
graphic
of using
design
it.
or whatever it might be. Yeah.
In finance,
So
in
you
whatever
actually
it
need
is.
to know which aspect of AI you're dealing with and how to get the best results.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cybersecurity, something huge. We were just talking about that hacking.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Massive.
and there are ways that you can learn ethical hacking techniques
Yeah.
in order to educate yourself. Data analysis and data science, not necessarily a big thing at the moment. You've got to learn platforms like SQL, Python, and R, DataCamp, Kaggle.
Yeah, but this is coding, and it'll help you if you don't know how to interpret the information that large language models are spitting out at you, then it might as well be gibberish. You know, it's like people who still don't know, like me, how to read an Excel spreadsheet. I don't. So it's no use.
No, exactly.
All this brilliant technology, and I'm still like a caveman with it. All right.
Then
What
within
else?
project management, there are big gaps in tertiary education. So things like sales and negotiation, you would be able to, in fact, it's even got a list of books that you can read. So even books are better than going and getting a tertiary education.
Right.
Communication and collaboration skills, EQ, emotional intelligence, not something that's taught
Nope.
about. Public speaking is still big up there, and presentation. And yeah, that's it. So very niched, but they serve a bigger picture. Once you know how to use AI within the medical industry, you're going to be set up for a whole lot of jobs, and that's not something you can learn at varsity.
Yeah, I asked AI the other day, what are the areas that will become the most important in the economy of the next 10 years? And it kind of came up with a lot of those. It also came up with things that we'll always need humans for, like looking after other people. So, for example, people who actually are able to nurse, for example, or to look after old people or kids or whatever. Those are not going to go away anytime soon. There's no machine that's going to come in and do that better. And I think that leads us on to what we're going to talk to Tarri about this morning. Tarri Parfitt is the CEO of the Smile Foundation. I'm proud to say I got involved with these guys years ago.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
they just started. And I think a huge amount of credit here to Mark Lubner, who we'll talk about in just a moment or two. But Tarri's the CEO of the Smile Foundation, which, of course, is an amazing organization. They transform the lives of children who are affected by facial abnormalities and severe burns through the best possible surgical and psychological care. And I also thought, if you're feeling a little bit sorry for yourself this morning because, it's Monday and I don't feel like going to work, there are children who are dealing with a harder set of circumstances than you are. And so many of them come out of the other side of this, the most positive, incredible, and motivational stories. And I thought it would be a good idea to talk about initiatives that really are about celebrating 25 years of making a difference. That is an unbelievable amount of time. Tarri, it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Here. I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
25 years, hey?
Yeah. It's an incredible achievement for any business or company, but for a non-profit especially, when we rely on donations from the public and from corporates.
And I know this is not a numbers game, but how many kids have you helped along the way?
Yeah, over the last 25 years, we've helped over 5,000 children with surgeries. And that has a exponential effect because it's not just the children's surgeries, it's the families and then the community. So it's in the hundreds of thousands probably over.
That's phenomenal. Okay, so when it started, just give us the origin story here. It's like a superhero because frankly, I think the Smile Foundation is a superhero. Give us the origin story of the Smile Foundation.
So it began with a tenacious young mother. She had a daughter that had total facial paralysis. So this child couldn't smile, couldn't blink. There was absolutely no expression. And so she
was born with that condition?
Yeah, it's called Mebius syndrome.
Wow.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
And she wrote many letters to Nelson Mandela, at the time, handwritten letters. And because she was from the Eastern Cape, one of the letters went into his private mail and he opened it because he was from the Eastern Cape. And he was so taken aback by the story that he happened to phone Mark Lubner at the time and said, we've got to do something to help this child. And there were no surgeons in this country that could work on this kind of problem. And so they went overseas and they found surgeons there and they came back with these skills and they helped this little girl. Her name is Tando. And 25 years later, she sits at the front of house at Africa Tikkun, which is our sister organization.
Wow.
And she smiles at everyone that comes through the door.
No, that's amazing.
And she couldn't move her face as a kid.
No, nothing.
Sure.
I mean, it's a very complex surgery. They have to take nerves from the inner thigh.
Wow.
They have to place it in the cheek area. And it takes between 12 and 14 hours. But at the time, there was no one in the country that could do that surgery. And now there are. And we've trained... at the moment, we have a network of about 50 surgeons that work with Smile Foundation across the country. So it's not only helping children, it's also expanding the field, the medical field.
I love it. And obviously, when people think about how important the face is, it's the way that people remember you. It's the single greatest physical, memorable asset that we all have, and it can be an asset, but for some people they're born with some sort of abnormality, some sort of facial deformity, and that just puts you on the back foot straight away. So if you're a kid, you don't deserve to start life that way.
No, and other kids are cruel.
They are horrible.
They are really cruel. And so to be able to circumvent that early on, I mean, there's this window of time where we want to do the surgeries. It's about 6 to 12 months old, where they're starting to develop, and you don't want them to start speaking differently. Some get a cleft palate, which is a hole in the back of their throat, and milk escapes through their nose. So that's like a feeding problem.
Yeah.
But then there's speech problems, and it manifests into something bigger. And so we want to try and help these kids before they go to school, before they have growth problems, and then they have a chance, just like you and I. It's just amazing. You would never even know that they were born like that.
How many people are dealing with this? How many kids are born with like cleft palates or whatever it might be?
The stats are quite sketchy.
Because you can't save everybody. You guys are trying, and my God, your numbers are amazing, and the lives you've changed are, each of them is a story on its own. But there are probably many others.
Yeah, I mean, they're also looking into the causes of it. So one of it is genetic.
Yeah.
And
The
there's
hair lip, they used to call it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I actually went and delved into the genetics of it a little bit. And there's this gene called MTHFR. I don't know if you know, it's a gene mutation.
No?
And lots of us have it. Like if you go do the 23andMe or the
Yeah?
analysis here, it's about 60 to 70% of people have it.
Wow. And then it
that's-
sometimes just manifests with this
Yeah, so that's
cleft
your
palate.
your body's ability to methylate folic acid.
Huh.
So if you can't do that, then you start to develop other problems. You know, it may not be cleft lip, it may be cancer or something down the line.
Right.
But it is linked to your ability, because you know, pregnant women always take folic acid.
Yeah.
And if you can't methylate the folic acid, then
As
it's
the
not
baby.
absorbed. Yes. So this is a genetic mutation that's happened. But then there's also obviously nutrition problems, and then inbreeding. So it's not so much in South Africa, but there's a place in Guatemala where it's triple the rate of cleft lip and palate because of the inbreeding.
That's amazing. I suppose now with, you know, the improvements in medical science and the ability for us to figure out that something might be wrong long before a child's even born, of course you have to have access to that medical care, which in South Africa is a big part of the problem. But it does help that we're advancing in ways like this. So now, most interesting thing about the Smile Foundation, well, there are lots of cool things about it, but you mentioned this already. You don't get to generate your own money. You don't get money from any one person. You have to keep going, and NGOs are very hard to run. So being the CEO, a lot of what you do on a day-to-day basis is just managing the money, hoping to bring in the donations. Do lots of events and things. You go around and tell people the story of what you guys are up to. And hopefully generous people all over the country and the world will help you along. How's that going?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it's a tough
Very tough.
environment.
Yeah.
There's over 280,000 NGOs in this country, or NPOs.
Wow.
So you really have to differentiate yourself. It does help that I'm an actuary, so I've got a financial background. So I'm minding those rands and cents.
I'm sure.
And you know, before I embarked on this world, I was very circumspect as to what goes on in this NPO space, and you know how much of it actually goes towards surgeries. And I'm because now I'm at the helm, I'm making sure that as much as we can, it goes directly to the surgeries, and there's very, very little waste. We're looking to make everything more efficient, help as many kids as we can. So last year we helped 500 kids. And that was up 30% from the previous year. So it's a lot of surgeries.
What's your story? How did you get involved with the Smile Foundation? What did you do before that?
So before that, I worked at Alexander Forbes, which most actuaries do. And I started my own investment business with 4 other actuaries. It was called Colorfield. It's still going.
Yes.
And it was fantastic. We were helping. I mean, it's your eyes can glaze over when I tell you.
No, I want to hear.
Liability-driven investing, where we looked out for pensioners. So we invested inflation-linked bonds for pensioners. And it actually is a fantastic business, and it's still going so well. But at some point, I just felt like I wanted to do something for South Africa, actually. Like I didn't want to make money for money's sake. And living in South Africa, you know, we sometimes live in this little bubble. And I was tired of that. And I wanted to do something and not be part of the problem. I wanted to be part of the solution.
Wow.
So on a good day, when I worked at Colorfield, I made more money, and now I help more children.
Yeah, I suppose you just swap priorities, and it must be extremely gratifying to know that you are really in a practical and lifelong way helping people. It's just the impact is so enormous, but it must be kind of stressful too, because to keep this thing going and to keep changing lives, and as you said, break records with how many kids you can help in a year. That's tough as nails. Are South Africans aware of the Smile Foundation to the degree that, because I mean, I think it's a pretty well-known brand.
I've never not known what it was
Yeah.
in all its years of existence.
But do people give money? I mean, is it harder than ever to ask people?
It really is. It really is. I mean, we've got a very good reputation. You know, you say the Smile Foundation, and inevitably people smile. You know, they know it. They know it does good things. But the average South African is stretched. So it's difficult. They want to help, but it's hard. So we get a lot of them. We got a lot of corporate sponsors, Vodacom, Adcock Ingram. These are really great sponsors, and they have been for many, many years. But you mentioned our 25th anniversary, and so what we want to do is we want to go into the schools. So these children are bombarded with social media, and they see these perfect images. They see Taylor Swift, and they see whatever the Ferrari experience in Dubai, and everything seems so perfect. And then real life is not so perfect, and they feel anxious. These kids don't know what to do when they are faced with imperfection. And so we want to go to the schools. We're rolling this out, this World Smile Day, which is on the 19th of September, to raise awareness for what we do. And we want to show the kids what looking different looks like, and that it's acceptable. And I think with kids, when you show them a problem, like I've seen now with these hostages, and how scary it is for them, and there's no real solution. They just feel scared. Whereas what we're going to do is we're going to show them that there's these kids that look different, and this is what you can do to help. So I want you to be part of this initiative, which is go buy stickers. It's kind of like Slipper Day, where you go buy stickers to support World Smile Day.
And you just put them on an ugly guy like me, and then, you're getting, I mean, this is potentially the only time that this face might be useful. So I'm happy to help in any way I can.
And then and then you get to wear your funky socks on that day to support us.
Oh, that's fun.
And we're looking to raise, for 25 years, we're wanting to do 100 surgeries, which is it's about 25,000 Rand a surgery. So raise 2.5 million Rand.
Wow.
So it's a big endeavor, but we think.
And tell me, do the doctors also give of their time and expertise for nothing? And, there are lots of people along the way here that are probably pulling their weight as well.
Absolutely.
So that when it comes to the costs that you're keeping an eye on, you can keep those at an absolute minimum. So, I mean, those people are also heroes.
They absolutely are. I mean, the network of doctors that work with us are really incredible. I mean, they work in the aesthetic world. They can go do boobs and bums as much and make lots of money, and they choose to help children from like underserved
I encourage them not to stop with the boobs and the bums. I mean, you can
encourage them to stop with the buns,
doctors, you've got to do more. We're relying on you. The whole world needs you. But it is incredible that there are so many kind, giving people. Sometimes you think, humanity, because who knows? You watch the news for long enough, and there's enough stuff to make you miserable. But there are such awesome people that are just out there doing what you're doing, for example, and it deserves a tip of the cap. Okay, so the idea here that looking different, because that's helping people psychologically too. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like, these things have made it so damn hard for people to appreciate how lucky they may be, that you are physically healthy, that you live in a home where your parents love you, where you have food in your stomach, little things, because many South Africans don't have any of those things. And people are pressurized by social media to imagine that they're all hideously ugly, and that the world is going to be a horrible place for them, because you've got all these supposedly perfect people who are posting stuff the whole time. And it's not really like that. I'm so glad I grew up when I did, because I don't know if, half these kids, especially girls, because it's hard if you're a girl. That's the stuff when you were at school and I was at school, Leigh-Ann, it would stay at school. You'd still go home and have a normal life.
Safe.
Now this follows you home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real problem, and it's very scary. These kids are very anxious. They don't know how to see those images and then look at themselves and their lives and marry the two. It's very confusing, and I agree with you. Like, living in the era we did, it was much simpler. But you see these kids in the hospital, and some of them are really deformed, especially from burns. Burns is like, it's very sad to see what happens, and they are so happy. They are so full of joy. It's unbelievable. And you just think, like, you have no idea, like, what the world is how it's going to treat you. And just for this little microcosm of time, they are just pure joy. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there's something really, really special about helping kids as opposed to adults. I mean, everybody needs help, right? And there's lots of good causes in this country. But it's just extremely gratifying when you can see a a happy smile on it. And this is why the Smile Foundation, from a brand point of view, is such a winner.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love a smile?
Mm-hmm. Have you been in positions before where you've had to make a decision on who you can help and who you can't?
Yeah, I mean that's
Jeez.
we've recently had a case from a girl from Lesotho who's just so extremely deformed. I mean, she's got a cleft lip, she's got a facial cleft, which is like
Right.
basically a hole all the way through to her brain, and she's deaf and blind, and her mother is trying everything that she can, and she's 6 years old to
Sure.
try and get the surgery, and the doctors, I mean, the doctors mainly make that decision. It's not really us. And they were like, it's, she may not make it, if they do this very, very complicated surgery. And the mother keeps raising money and she keeps trying. And the doctors are pushing back because they're saying that, they don't want to do the surgery if it ends, badly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very difficult.
Tough. Yeah.
By the way, Hugh, who's a miserable son of a bitch in the comments, says, why must we help everyone? No one's asking you, Hugh. If you don't want to, you don't have to, all right? But you just heard the story now, and I'm pretty sure if you have a heart, then you want to help where you can, Hugh, all right? Sure. It's always him.
Some people,
Miserable.
It's interesting that the government is looking at this NHI story. And we did this initiative in East London in Frere Hospital where I got up and I thanked everyone. And so I thanked the hospital because the hospital doesn't have a plastic surgery department. So we brought in doctors from the private sector that were working pro bono. So I thanked the hospital for allowing us in. And the hospital turned around and said, thank you for bringing these surgeons and for teaching our nurses and our registrars. And they were so grateful. And then I said to the doctors, thank you so much for coming and helping these kids. I mean, they did unbelievable surgeries. They were working on kids' hands that had been burnt. Sure. And the scar tissue had closed them. So they had no more access to their hands. And these two doctors were working on either side of this child at the same time on both hands. And they just made such a big difference. So I thank these doctors, and these doctors turned around and said, we could never have done this without Smile Foundation. Like, you guys brought the kids and organized this whole thing, and never in our wildest dreams would we think that we could do this on our own. And we're so grateful for the opportunity. And then I thanked our donors, Vodacom, because obviously it's a very expensive thing, and they brought the money, and they thanked us. They said, we really want to do good things, and it's because of you guys that we can. And it was just this amazing combination of like private and public and working together and fixing some kind of gap. That's
so lovely.
And it works. It works without, the government having to cause havoc. And
well, actually, you want to keep them out of it. Otherwise, it will be a disaster. I can say that. You don't have to. But it's all these people who are, and I've seen this happen with organizations, and they're very few like yours, but organizations like yours where they're trying to do something more than for themselves, right? So it's kind of when you get to a point where it's not just about your needs, like you were talking about your business earlier, how you decided to do this instead. And once you're in a place where everybody's thanking everybody and they're all like thrilled to be a part of something, and the real benefit is for this kid. Can you imagine not being able to open your hands, for God's sake? But they're all there. And yes, it's hard work, and it's hours, and it's time, and it's money, and it's effort, and it's expertise, and all of these things. But man, it's so worthwhile.
You're changing someone's life. They would not have the same life.
Forever. It's incredible. No, so I'm pleased to have you here, Tarri, and thank you so much for coming and spending time with us this morning.
Thank you. And Gareth, I'd just also like to thank you for your support of the Smile Foundation over the last, I don't know if it's 25 years, but it's a very long time.
I'm very inconsistent. Hey? if you relied on me, there'd be like 2 kids and the one would still have a hair lip. So, I'm happy to help where I can. But
we're very grateful.
By the way, I don't want you to heal and cure everybody. Because I used to do this thing called the Speech Impediment Olympics. Remember, Leigh-Ann?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and we still need a couple of people with cleft palates. Otherwise, how are we going to get them to read those poems on the show? No, it is tremendous. I can make fun because I actually do give a damn. But if you can get involved, There are lots of good causes in South Africa, and don't worry about people like Hugh who obviously don't want to help anybody. But if you do, then it's worth looking into what the Smile Foundation does. I mean, 25 years is an incredible and impressive track record.
Yeah.
There are people who are in jobs all over South Africa today that probably would never have got those jobs, would never have had the life that they have if it wasn't for the Smile Foundation. So, Tarri and your whole team, congrats to you guys. It's just incredible what you do. And keep making South Africa smile.
Thank you.
I don't think there's a better cause than that.
Mhm.
Have an awesome day, everybody. We will be back on Wednesday at 6 a.m. bright and early. Smile all day for this Monday. Ciao.